I think we are on to tip two. And that goes along with tip one, but it's developing a strong feedback culture in all directions. Because I think so often feedback seems to be something that leaders like to give, but don't like to necessarily get. And you really need to create a culture where communication is going both ways. Because once again, this is my big problem with CEOs is that honestly, most people don't want to put their jobs on their line to go up to a CEO and say, you know what, you're doing this wrong. Because that takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of privilege to be able to put one's job on the line. And I think if you create a culture where leaders are receiving feedback well and are constantly asking for feedback, you create a regular feedback loop that just feeds itself and everything gets better. And we've seen this in some organizations that are incentivizing getting feedback of saying, hey, if there's rules that don't make sense, bring it to the C-suite and we'll pay you for that feedback to make things better, right? Because things are iterative. Like rules that were created a decade ago might not make sense right now, but it's also just ingrained in that organizational culture. And you need fresh eyes sometimes to realize that it becomes a problem. And so I think some practical tips to help actually develop that culture is making more channels for regular feedback. So not just waiting for, say, the postmortem or like the 360 annual review or, my monthly one-on-one with my supervisor. It's like, no, we learn faster when there's a higher cadence. So build in ways that maybe could be asynchronous. So you don't have to always be waiting for your one-on-one, even if it's weekly with a subordinate or a manager. The other thing is acknowledging feedback, even if you don't act on it. It's making sure that the suggestion box doesn't just get overfilled, because then when you see that, you know that no one's actually taking the feedback seriously. And so leaders really need to work to model it, one, accepting feedback graciously, and making sure that you're acknowledging the feedback that does come in, even if you can't act on it, even if they're like, it'd be great if we all got Teslas. And you're like, well, we're not buying everyone a Tesla, but acknowledging it and being like, okay, that's good for you, but we're not doing that. And this is why. That's a needed step in order to really build that feedback culture.